Now, the other issue that I see, you have a part of the bill that talks about improper entry. What are we talking about improper entry?
Entry into the state of Texas as a trespasser at a non-international port of entry.
And would these people be arrested?
They would be arrested for improper entry into the state of Texas, processed for that crime, and then also processed for through the Border Patrol for immigration as well. Again, the state's not enforcing immigration law. We're enforcing improper entry into the state to compel people to go to the ports of entry, the 29 ports of entry that are in Texas, or compel the cartels to move them to Arizona.
What type of facility would they be detained?
Various facilities that DPS has. You've seen them. In fact, one of those facilities is in your own district that we've toured. So the DPS would continue to detain those folks in the facilities that we currently have. And I believe the governor, based upon his trustee programs, will have to actually open up one of our other empty TDCJ prisons to be able to continue to detain folks, given the scope and size of what we think we may detain. But DPS has the discretion of whether it's family units that we continue to process to Border Patrol. We don't detain those family units. Border Patrol has a better way to do that, but we'll continue to use the facilities that we have, and then potentially construct others. You heard my layout that there's money is available to construct additional facilities. So DPS will have to manage that as we build this capability.
Potentially, we're talking about thousands of people coming across that would be arrested.
Certainly possible.
Well, and a lot of them will be women and children. Where will we place those women and children?
We don't contain we may move the women and children as family units to Border Patrol. You heard Director McCraw's testimony on I believe it was Monday morning, or maybe it was Thursday morning. I've lost track of the days, but when people present themselves as a family unit, the Border Patrol has a better, more efficient process to determine if they are in fact a family unit or trafficking children, two adults that may be trafficking children. But anything that presents itself as a family unit, we send to the Border Patrol for them to handle that under federal authorities. That way we're looking for the mostly single military age male that may be the one that's actually running drugs or other contraband or other smuggling items of contraband.
Sounds like selective enforcement. Is there any place in the bill that says that, well, if you're a family, you will not be arrested?
Okay, say again the question. I didn't understand it, Senator.
So is there any place in the bill that says that if you are a family, husband, wife, 2 or 3 kids, that you would not be arrested and turned over to Border Patrol?
No, it does not say that in the bill, but that's current DPS policy that I believe would continue, as Director McCraw testified back on Thursday.
Well, so that's why I made the point that we have selective enforcement of the law of one of the people that we want to target. There would be males.
That is the primary target for what we're seeking. Those that are not seeking to be detained and caught. There are folks that are trying to get caught and folks that aren't trying to get caught. And when family units present themselves, we do not detain children. We certainly can detain women. There are women that do commit crimes, and that's certainly possible to do. But most of what we see is single military age men.
Well, let me ask, how many people do you estimate will be coming across that will be arrested on a weekly basis?
I wouldn't estimate what's been arrested on a weekly basis. I would tell you that when we first passed this bill back in early April, for the statistics that began at the beginning of January of 23, we'd already detained nearly 170,000 people in 3 months of operations during the year of 2023. So that is an indeterminate number at this point, and that's why we leave it much to DPS's discretion as to how and whom to process for what crimes. And that's why we leave it unspoken in the bill. We make no statement about not arresting women. We move those family units to the Border Patrol because they have a more efficient way to do so, rather than the state bearing that burden.
So you said 170,000 a week or a month, or?
No, I didn't say week. That's how many have come in the 3 months that,
3 months.
from January 1st to when we first heard the bill back in March.
Is that just males or just including families?
That does have family units in it. I don't know what the breakout of those numbers were.
And I would imagine, and just what I read and what I know, this bill is just trying to set up a challenge to take up before the United States Supreme Court on whether or not the state has the authority to enforce immigration law?
Well, I don't believe we're enforcing immigration law. We're enforcing state law, because remember, it says improper entry is what the bill says, what HB 20 or what SB 2424 was, says improper entry. So I don't believe we're enforcing immigration law, because our duty is, after prosecution of the state crime, is to process them to the immigration authorities to actually enforce the immigration aspects. But it's certainly possible that the federal government might decide to come after Texas, and I'm certainly happy to stand and defend this, as what we're working on with the Attorney General.
Well, you know, we can use different terminology, but the reality is that that's what it is. We are enforcing immigration laws.
I strongly disagree, Senator, because if individuals obey the law as we've passed it here, and they go to the ports of entry, Immigration Services and the Border Patrol will issue that individual, based upon their pre-screening for asylum claims, they will issue them an I-589. If that individual walks into the state of Texas across a port of entry with an I-589, they can keep walking as far as they want to go, because that gives them a stated defense in the bill to have that 589 that has sought asylum. Whether they're granted asylum or not is not Texas's concern. It's a federal concern, but that gives them a defense to prosecution if they walk across that port of entry, receive that I-589 from the initial threat screening that Border Patrol does. So that's why we're not enforcing immigration law.
Just a couple more questions. Would this force have the authority to go out into the cotton fields or melon fields or agricultural fields, checking to see whether or not they're here in this nation, in this country?
No, because to have probable cause to believe that somebody has entered the state of Texas illegally or improperly from a foreign nation, to establish that probable cause means on site on the river. So the law enforcement, the border force, is going to have to be in close proximity to be able to observe people crossing improperly into Texas at non-international port of entry checkpoints.
So this would not apply in terms of if they didn't be able to witness that happening, coming across the border, then they wouldn't be able to detain them or arrest them? They
would have to see it occur. You could have individuals, in fact, what's happened over the last 2 weeks, because of the price that Texas is making the cartel pays, the Arizona sector is receiving more penetrations in the last 2 weeks than Texas. So Nogales and Yuma are receiving more penetrations. Anybody that comes in that direction and then comes into Texas across the New Mexico state line with Texas, they have not violated this law, because they didn't come into Texas improperly over from an international border into the state of Texas. They came into Texas through a state border.
My last point, that is, we have laws now in the books about trespass. When a property owner files a criminal complaint with law enforcement, this is much broader than that. It talks about anyone that supposedly, the way you describe it, if a Border Patrol, a person working with us, being staffed with this border task force, they witness or identify someone they think or they saw, if they think that the person is in this country, as you say, unlawful entry, they would be arrested, whether they trespass or not.
For a state crime, yes, they could be, because the law is broad enough that it allows us to conduct these operations on both public and private lands.
Well, I'm just concerned about the families. I'm not sure that it's really workable. As you know, we have a whole bunch of problems and challenges and chaos along the border. I agree with you that we have a lot of problems along the border in terms of securing the border. But my point is, this is not the way to try to solve this issue. But thank you for answering my questions.
Thank you, Senator.